I decided to change my life by tracking every macro I ate. Carbs, protein, fat. It was all weighed, logged, tracked, and it was perfect. I even got to see results. But the moment I slipped up, even just a little bit, I felt very defeated and frustrated. The problem wasn't the food, and it wasn't discipline. It was something else entirely. When you're tracking macros to that extent, it can be exhausting. You have to measure, portion, everything for a meal that you're cooking. And then you have to do it again when you're dividing up the leftovers into meals that you're going to eat at different times and how they'll fit in with other meals that you're having. It's a lot. It takes a lot of work. Fortunately, I live alone, so I didn't have to worry about somebody else coming in and, eating some of my well-planned food, because that would not have gone over very well. But it's also very limiting. So you can go to a restaurant these days and they'll have the total calories for a lot of items, even some alcohol, but they don't really break out the macros. So if you're trying to live with a macro tracking lifestyle, going out to eat can be pretty difficult. Same thing with social. Like if you're going to a friend's for dinner, you can have, this chicken parm is delicious. What are the macros? I'll look at you like, are you crazy? So it's kind of awkward, not really the way to go. But the worst part is the way that I would feel when something went askew, and it always ended up going askew. So for me, the most frequent reason was I would forget. So even though you would think it would be top on my mind all the time, I'd fix a nice meal, something pretty healthy. I'd start eating it, and then I'd be like, oh, I forgot to weigh everything. And I'd feel like a loser. I'd feel like I can't do this. It's so hard. I would often give up, at least for that day. Be like, well, today's kind of shot, so I might as well just do whatever. I know it's not the healthiest mindset, but it's real. That's how I used to be. So the problem, though, is that for me, it wasn't just food. It went on to, basically everything else. So I've always been kind of a go big or go home kind of person, even before it was a catchphrase. Whether it was like fitness resets, so I'd be like, okay, I'm going to start going to the gym 5 days a week, exercising for an hour and a half. I'm going to take these 4 classes. I'm, just 30 days all spelled out and go. Or maybe it's a productivity thing. Okay, I'm going to start using my phone reminders. I've got these set up to be automatic reminders. I've got these set up as high priority reminders. And, I'll review them every day and I'll add the ones that I need. You're already go. I've always been a very all in, super inclusive, we've got to cover everything at once. You would think that would be powerful and, I would get so much accomplished, but it's actually very exhausting. My all or nothing mindset didn't really serve me very well. It was extreme, and my identity was kind of tied to the performance of whatever I was throwing myself into. So I'd go all in, everything would be great for a little while, I'd feel pretty good about myself, then there'd be a slip up, and I would spiral and end up feeling horrible. Pretty much beating myself up good for a while. And then I would muster the energy up again to try it again. Same cycle would happen, beat myself up for a while, and then try to muster up the energy and try it again. What I'm finding as midlife is here, I don't have that energy anymore. I don't have the bandwidth to be able to put that much in over and over again for the same results. And I don't have the desire to feel like crap anymore. I just don't. So part of it, I'm sure is hormonal, I'm shifting, my mindset's shifting. Part of it's priorities. Things are more important to me now, more of the future, security, winding down my working years, that kind of stuff. So the older I get, the less interested I'm becoming in wanting to blow up my life just to try to make it better. And here's what I noticed. Macro tracking was extremely time consuming. It required perfection from me. It was really not sustainable. So I started to ask myself a different question. What if, instead of trying to change my life, I just ran some experiments? Experiments aren't forever. They don't have to be perfect. They're just testing. They just give you data. When something's an experiment, it can't fail. It's just gathering data. So here's how I found how experimenting actually works for me. I was coming off the macro tracking debacle, exhausted, frustrated. Obviously, I had failed again and was beating myself up, and decided that while I was waiting for the energy to try to do it again, I would just try to make some little improvements. I didn't have the oomph to go all in again, so I thought, let's just try something. So the first thing I tried was, I'm just going to eat when I'm hungry. I had gotten used to with the macros, like it didn't matter if you were hungry or not. You had to get them in, you had to hit your counts. So I just decided, you know what? I'll just give myself permission to eat when I'm hungry. And that felt amazing. And then I decided to add in a glass of water a day. So I drink a fair amount of water, but I wanted to increase that, be better hydrated. So I just added drinking an extra glass of water a day. And then I got bold and tried to replace my processed carbs like pasta and rice, even potato, with leafy greens. That one didn't go so well. It felt almost punishing. I like leafy greens. I don't have a problem with that, but it was just a bit more extreme than where I was at the time. So I pivoted. I said, okay, that's not working for me. I am going to try something different. So I switched it to at least one meal a week. I was going to make that change. And that worked. So I stuck with it. After 2 weeks, I realized that I felt better than I had for years. Through all of the low carb, low calorie, macro tracking, that roller coaster I had been on didn't ever really result in much weight loss. And what I did lose would come right back on when I'd have falling off. So after 2 weeks, the scale hadn't changed much, but I felt great. I had better energy. I felt positive. I actually had some pride in what I was accomplishing. Basically, it helped in so many ways that I wasn't expecting. My gut, so that whole process was a lot better. And for once in years, I actually felt hope. Like, I can sustain this. What I'm doing right now, I can continue doing. And that was very, very liberating and encouraging. That's when I realized that sustainability is far more important than intensity. So the difference between the counting macros lifestyle is that it was rigid, all-consuming, very identity heavy, and it was a binary process. It was a success or failure. There was no in between. You either counted all of your macros or you didn't. You either hit the numbers or you didn't. With this new approach that I'm taking with the experiments, it's one small shift at a time. It's neutral observation. How do I feel about that? Did I like that? It's flexible. That's not really working for me. Maybe I can tweak it this way. And it's sustainable because you're always evaluating. You don't have to make a huge commitment to this is how I do it now. It's trying it on. Curiosity feels a lot lighter than commitment. Have you ever tried to make a change and just knew you weren't going to be able to sustain it? Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was the size of the change. The nice thing about experimenting in this stage of our life is we can put wisdom over force. We can choose sustainability over intensity. And we can think about refinement over reinvention. This stage of our life isn't about proving anything. It's about refining. What if, instead of trying to fix your life, you instead just tried something for a week? So maybe it's a 10-minute walk instead of trying to do a whole gym thing. Maybe it's eating a protein-first breakfast, or turning off your phone an hour before going to bed. It could be a 7-day hydration experiment. Maybe it's just one honest conversation you've been putting off. Whatever it is, just try it out. Kind of try it on. See how you like it. It's nothing you have to commit to forever, but it doesn't hurt. Do I regret counting macros for a decade of my life? No, I don't. I learned something from it, so it's valuable. What I learned is intensity does not replace sustainability. That a go big and then go home approach is not better than showing up for yourself every single day. I don't want intensity anymore. I want consistency. If this resonates with you, you're tired of trying big extreme resets and want to try some smaller, honest experiments, I'd love to welcome you to this community. If you found this video helpful, please like. Subscribe if you want to explore more possibilities of the season of life, one experiment at a time. That would be great. And one last question for you. What experiment would you like to try this week? Drop it in the comments below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.